are some resources that are available to help messengers of hope, spread this kind of vision and serve a growing Christ awakening movement right where they live? Well, as they sometimes say on television, here's a word from your sponsor. I want to send you to my website, proclaimhope.org, because you're going to find dozens of materials, all of them free and all of them available for you to take and use, not only to grow your own walk with Jesus, but to help spread that vision to others. For example, one thing you can do with help from that website is what I call go undercover with the CIA. CIA means Christ is all, and that's the book I wrote. Actually, there are two versions of it. There's one that's 500 pages and another that's 176 pages. The 500-page version is now free for download from our website. And if you don't do anything else, go into the last 3 chapters of that book and read. For example, chapter 10 talks about becoming messengers of hope, how to re-inspire the church with the supremacy of God's Son. Chapter 11 says becoming prisoners of hope, how to recapture the church for the supremacy of God's Son. And finally, chapter 12 talks about becoming vanguards of hope, how to remobilize the church around the supremacy of God's Son. And each one of those chapters is full of a lot of practical ideas, which we don't have time to explore here. There's also the shorter version that's still for sale and available at the website of ChristIsAllBook.com. It's only 176 pages, but if you go to that website, you can download for free a small group study guide. So for about 7 weeks, you can take a group of people maybe once every week through a study of the supremacy of Jesus, of why we say Christ is all. It's sort of a mini version of the Christ Institutes. Or you can actually go ahead and use the videos of the Christ Institutes. They're available online, as you well know. And you might think about leading fellow believers through TCI together. You can either do it as a Sunday school class or on a weekend retreat, or maybe over 9 Saturday mornings, 2 hours each morning. And remember, with the Selahs involved, you can break it up into even more than 9 sessions. You can make it into as many sessions as you like. And also at the Christ Institute's website, there is the participants guide with a lot of suggestions, including discussion questions for each of the sessions. Also, if you go to the Christ Institute's website, you'll find my latest book entitled Christ is Now, which is really a companion volume to these 9 video studies because it has 9 separate chapters. Each one is about 100 pages long, and each chapter matches each of the TCI sessions. Messengers of Hope. So you say, well, wait a minute, what more could we do? Well, you could form a committee. Now you say, wait a minute, the last thing our church needs is another committee, but hear me out. I call this committee a CAST, C-A-S-T, which stands for Christ Awakening Servant Team. The motto of it is cast the vision together, that is, cast the vision of Jesus together. We have many different committees in our churches that focus on many different issues, financial committees, educational committees, worship committees. Why not a committee made up of messengers of hope who focus their attention on fostering Christ awakenings inside your congregation? A CAST. You say, well, what would such a group do? Well, maybe you'd meet together, maybe 30, 40 minutes once a week, maybe after church on a Sunday morning. I have a lot of ideas of what you can do if you go and download the document on CAST, which you'll find at proclaimhope.org. But here are a few things I talk about in that document. You can get together once a week to update your Regal Bibles, to share some of the new supremacy scriptures you've uncovered the previous week, or you could share recent successes you've had in sharing Christ with other believers and how they responded and how God worked in their lives as a result. Or you might brainstorm some new approaches of how to begin spreading more of the glory of Christ within the life of your congregation, like that one church did when they came up with the idea of the t-shirts. Or you for sure would meet together to spend a little bit of that time just praying for a Christ awakening movement among your fellow believers, because in the end, it must be a work of the Holy Spirit. And then before you dismiss, you sort of pray over each other and recommission each other and hold each other accountable to go out of that meeting and to continue being messengers of hope. But again, remember, whatever you do, the goal of every messenger of hope is to connect Christians more fully with the person of Christ by increasing their conversations about the supremacy of Christ. If we change the conversation in the church about Him, then we can change the church. But that means that we need to acquire a fresh new language for talking about Christ so that we can change the conversation about Christ and thus change the church. In a sense, these 9 sessions of the Christ Institutes has been a course in linguistics. What I've been giving you all through these 9 sessions is whole new ways and whole new words to use to talk about the spectacular supremacy of God's Son. Remember, I gave you that assignment in the first session. I said, what if you were put before a microphone so you could speak to the whole nation about what Jesus means to you? And I asked the question, would you be able to fill 3 minutes talking to the nation about who Jesus Christ is? And I think at that point, you probably would have said, I'm not sure I can do that for 3 minutes. I believe at this point, you will be very able to do that because now you know the language. You just start talking about who he is to us and for us and over us and before us and within us and through us and upon us and so much else that we've covered together. And you'll fill those 3 minutes. In fact, you could probably fill 3 hours. If we can acquire a fresh new language for talking about Christ, then we can change the conversation about Christ. And in a way, that really does change the church. So how will you start using your new language that you've gained from the Christ Institutes to talk to others about the supremacy of Christ? How will you begin to help foster and serve Christ awakening movements right where you live? How will you become a messenger of hope